Time to start today. My name is Gary Blakely. I'll be your MC today, and I'm pleased to welcome you to welcome those here in our community center and those joining on Facebook Live to Kansas City Oasis. Since 2014, Oasis has been the premier secular alternative to faith-based communities. We welcome all, regardless of beliefs or non-belief, race, gender, sexual orientation, identity, or any other trait. We feel the human experience is better when it's shared, and we are so pleased that you have chosen to share it with us this morning. So, we gather around 5 core values, which are: people are more important than beliefs, reality is known through reason, human hands solve human problems, meaning comes from making a difference, and be accepting and be accepted. For today's program, our featured speaker is Morgan Henderson, giving glass a second life with Ripple Glass. I'm looking forward to that. I'm a glass recycler myself. So our community moment will be Sydney Moats, and musician is David Hakan. There we go. And David, would you like to take it away?
Thank you, Gary. Really glad to be back. I love this new space. It's my first time here on this space. And my first song is actually about a very important climate solution, cleverly disguised as an award-winning children's song. The hardest working creature that you'll ever meet is the one making tunnels under your feet. His task is mighty despite his size. He's a decomposer in disguise. I like worms. I like worms. There's a mystery underground where colonies toil. They eat anything rotten and it comes out soil. They don't sting or make a sound. They've no eyes for you till you're in the ground. I like worms. I like worms. Worms make the world go round. They make me want to kiss the ground. Yuck. I like worms. I brought them in my kitchen, and that's no lie. All my food scraps go in their bin, where that stuff dies. In the landfill it would stink, I fear, and add methane to the atmosphere. I like worms. I like worms. In my bin all those veggie scraps just disappear. I open the lid to my compost. I feel like a pioneer. Coffee grounds, broccoli, leaves and leeks, but it smells like a forest and a creek. I like worms. I like worms. Worms make the world go round. Make me want to kiss the ground. Not really. I like worms. I like worms. I like worms. Thank you. Well, I had a more uplifting song to follow this one because it's a little down to earth. Actually, it's a true story even. About a little girl named Daniela in the Philippines, and heard this story and decided this needed a song. Daniela dreams that the rising sea creeps through the slats in her bed. Salty and black and deathly cold, her island of hope filled with dread. Her Philippines island is 6 feet tall, water ankle deep fills the room. It chews on the legs of her tables and chairs, pulled by the cold-hearted moon. We are married to this island life. We have everything we need. We have our boats, we have the ocean. We are tethered to this rising sea. We are tethered to this rising sea. By day she plays in the mangrove tree, looks for boats out on the blue. She tethers her doll and her favorite stool so they don't wash away from view. And she carries the rainwater back to her house, but she doesn't breathe through her nose. The mildew is strong and the sewer's gone wrong. It will only get worse, she knows. We are married to this island life. We have everything we need. We have our boats, we have the ocean. We are tethered to this rising sea. We are tethered to this rising sea. Her school moved into the attic. Her teacher is not very tall. It is dry, really quite cozy, but her father would have to crawl. When they were told to move to a place on a hill, join the farmers there if they wish. But the town said, we are fisher folk, we will stay right here and fish. For we are married to this island life. We have everything we need. We have our boats, we have the ocean. We are tethered to this rising sea. We are tethered to this rising sea. This rising sea. This rising sea. This rising sea.
Very good, very good. I really enjoy good guitar picking. You do a good job. And for any of you who are interested, David will have be at a table back here with CDs to sell and merch, anything else. So, yeah, see him at the coffee break. So, birthdays this week, June the 8th, and both Liz Craig and I have a birthday. So I don't know how that worked out, but yeah. Yeah, I'll be celebrating with family. My sister's just moved to town, so she likes Kansas City too, so made the move. Wedding anniversary, Roger and Mary Lou Pick on June the 6th. Congratulations. How many years? How many years?
I can't subtract that.
43. Oh, you would have, could have won the contest last night, but anyway. And just married. Look at that beautiful couple there. Eric and Michelle. They really were fortunate. The weather was beautiful. It was an outdoor wedding. I was fortunate to attend. And they did have a contest for the people who had been married the longest. And Mark and Sally actually won that contest, yes. Even though they don't even look that old, as long as they've been married. So, I think I've just redeemed myself. All right, we are doing the Thursday dance classes again. I was out of town when we had the first one, but, oh, no, wait, we're starting those, right? Is this the first one? Anyway, you're welcome to attend. You don't have to have a partner. That's going to be right here, 6:30 to 7:30, and the classes are $12 per person. As I said, no partner needed. So come and have some fun. All right, we're having a rummage sale June the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I would just want to remind you to bring anything that you'd like to donate to the cause here for Oasis. We will then, of course, offer them for sale in the rummage sale. And come and buy some stuff, too. Bring some stuff you need to want to get rid of, but we'd like you to shop around. Also, help us publicize this. If you can spread the word on your social media, whatever your contacts, friends, we would really appreciate that. And if you have any questions about that, just see Susan. Susan, are you? Okay, I think she's downstairs working, getting to get ready. But yeah, please, this will be very important. The whole neighborhood, by the way, is having a garage sale. It's sort of like for the entire neighborhood around here. So we're obviously ideal to time it with that. So thank you for your support there. And that brings us to, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. He takes care of me. He just, I couldn't do this without Jason. There's Susan right there if you have any questions. We are going to be doing a lot of setting up for this after Oasis today. So if you want to, please hang around and help us. And we've got some pizza coming in for that. So we'll feed you as your reward. So, all right. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Sarah. She's going to talk about our participation in walking in the Pride Parade and some other things. So here you go, Sarah.
Hi. I thought I was going on at the end. I'm Sarah Gielen. I am the acting president for Kansas City Oasis, in case we haven't met. We are marching in the Pride Parade on Saturday. We are also tabling. So if you want to table for Pride, basically all that involves is you sitting there at a table for a few hours. We'll have fans, merchandise, pamphlets. People will ask questions about Oasis. It's really a lot of fun, and there's not really a lot of effort into it. But if you want to do that, if you look on our private page, there's a Sign Up Genius that you can sign up. Denise and I have filled in some spots that if you want to bump us, that's okay. If you want a spot that already is filled, just show up and hang out. It'll be fine. We'll have, I don't know if you've never been to Pride before, show up. It is so much fun, and we'll have a table where you can rest. As far as the parade, which is a separate event, so tabling is going to be all weekend long. The parade is Saturday at 11 a.m., and if you want to march in the parade, you need to be there at 10 o'clock at, oh gosh, I don't have glasses on. Can you read, 42nd in Pennsylvania? Okay. Yes. Okay, so we are in the blue section. I have it on here, but it's so tiny I can't read it now. We are in the blue section. We are 128th place, and we're going to be meeting at 42nd in Pennsylvania. Julie Manning and Mark Minden are going to be leads on that, so if you need to figure out where everybody's at or anything like that, contact Mark or Julie. There is props in the back if you want to be in the parade. Denise brought in all kinds of little props back there, so you can go look at that. Sally has pride flags that people can carry. It is a long route, so make sure you wear comfortable shoes. And we also have new merch. So we've got the black shirts that people have been wanting from Houston that we now have our own. So the black shirts, People Are More Important, rainbow colors, are for sale back there for $20. Denise is holding one up. So if you want to wear that, that's cool. If you want to wear your own stuff, that's fine too. We've got all kinds of things and Oasis shirts and whatever. So any questions on tabling, contact me. Any questions on the parade, contact Mark Minden or Julie Manning. Okay, was that clear as mud? Okay, all right, perfect, thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. You definitely presented that much better than I think I could have. No, thank you, seriously. All right, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with Oasis, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. Just go to kcoasis.org and sign up. It's easy to do. Our community moment. Did we get, we've got Sydney Moats here. Did we get the warning labels? I'm sorry. Well, they're not in the speaker notes. There we go. Okay, curious, silly, and authentic. There we go. And I tell it how it is. That's your warning label. So, all right, I'll turn it over to you.
Sorry. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sydney. I've been coming to Oasis now for maybe a little over a year and a half, and I want to say all except for maybe the first 3 weeks, someone has asked me to do a community moment, so I finally figured out something that I might know something about that not everyone else would already know. Took me this long, but here we go. So I just wanted to talk for a couple minutes up here about my experience that I had volunteering to work the polls in the 2020 general election. And part of why I wanted to talk to you guys about that today was, one, I don't have to remind, I'm sure everybody in this room, that the last general election we had was a little crazy for multiple reasons. COVID was a factor, just everything with a lot of political rhetoric. So there actually has been a lot of problems across the country with election offices all over having an issue maintaining their staffing that they need to make sure that everyone's able to vote and vote in person specifically. That's very important to a lot of folks, which I learned after working in one of these. So thank you for letting me just tell you guys what I learned, and hopefully I inspire a couple of you guys to volunteer this go around for this general election coming up. Okay, so this image might be a little triggering to all of us, but let's all go back in time to the year 2020 and take a look at what was going on. I don't have to remind everyone that we were going through the pandemic at that time. So that was a big motivator for me to look into volunteering to be a poll worker in the 2020 general election. As you guys all probably remember, vaccines were not out at this time. And what this image is showing, I think I got the weekend right before Super Tuesday in 2020. So we were at about 2.42 deaths per million people at that time in the United States. And then right after the election, you can see we went back up on another large spike. So knowing that there was a safety hazard at that time really motivated me. Just being a younger, able-bodied person, I felt like it was something that I should look into. Of like, I can handle it. I didn't want, folks that are compromised or anything to feel like they needed to take up that burden. Secondly, this is actually from a study from the 2016 election, and it outlines the demographics for age of poll workers. Okay, so in 2016, the 2016 election, over 50% of poll workers in the United States were over the age of 61. So, knowing that at the time of the 2020 general election, we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's no vaccine at this time, and also knowing who we would expect to be working the polls, that was another motivator for me to be like, hey, I know that a lot of elderly folks and people who are more at risk are going to be around, and so I just really wanted to kind of take that away from them. Those were the two reasons why for me. And then another thing, like I said, there was a lot of political rhetoric going on at that time, and there still is, regarding the validity and safety of mail-in ballots. So it seemed like people were either very, very comfortable with the idea of doing an absentee or a mail-in ballot for safety reasons, but then the other side was completely different. They're like, no, I definitely want to vote in person, no matter what. I only want to vote like on paper, which is completely fine. However, while 2020 was a record year for mail-in and absentee voting, still over 50% of ballots were cast in person, either early voting or on election day. So that really highlights that even though there was so many people voting by mail before, we still need folks on the ground on election day to volunteer and facilitate the folks that need to vote in person. Okay, so my sister actually also volunteered where she lives in Arkansas, so that's me on the left. I, at the time, was a registered voter in Johnson County, so the rest of what I talk about is going to be like what I learned and what I did, and this is for my experience in Johnson County. I can't speak for Jackson or Wyandotte or anywhere else. And then my sister's over there on the other side. Okay, so just really quick, I just wanted to give a little information again about what I did as a Johnson County election volunteer. I say it's a volunteer opportunity because actually in Johnson County, they will compensate you. You have to go to a training session, and they offer many different time slots, and you get paid for the training. It's about 2 or 3 hours long, and you do, they go through everything that you're gonna do. You have to learn how to use what's called a poll pad. They go through everything you can want to do. You get compensated for that. And then you also will get compensated for your work on election day that you work. Again, I say it's volunteer even though you get paid. However, what you get paid is not comparable to like making minimum wage for the amount of hours that you're putting in. It's a really long day. You guys know the polls in some places can open as early as 6 a.m. I believe in Johnson County, they open at 7, so we had to be there about 5:45 to start setting up, and then you don't get to leave. Well, first, voting keeps going until everyone in line is through, no matter what, but at a certain time, the polls close, usually at 7 p.m., and then the volunteers have a whole list of things they need to do. They have to tear down, and again, it's a really long day. I think I want to say for the day, I made about $150, and that's why I wore this outfit today, because these are the shoes I bought with the money I made from volunteering. Okay, so just really quick, again, I really hope that some of you guys can see that it's really easy what you do, and you get to learn a lot about the process. And again, I hope I don't have to tell anyone this. There was quite a bit of rhetoric going around regarding poll workers specifically in the 2020 election, so much so that some folks have been sued for defamation and lost. Don't need to tell you who that was, Mr. Giuliani. But anyway, so this is what you would be doing as a poll worker, and what we did was each person, basically, we would just cycle through these. Again, it's a really long day, so you don't really want to be doing the same thing the whole 12 or 14-hour day that you're there. So the volunteers are responsible for setting up the polling place. Depending on where you're working, you may need to have somebody posted outside to direct traffic. Again, at this time it was during COVID, so we had to facilitate folks and also make sure that we had lots of signage posted for social distancing, for safety. Most importantly is probably the check-in table where you show ID, you're making sure that person is where they're supposed to be and that they get the correct ballot. You may be working at the provisional voting table. You may be the person that's taking the ballot over to the booth for the person and setting them up. My favorite job was being at the tabulator where you're like, okay, place your ballot right here. And then after it, sucks it in, you're like, okay, here you go, here's your voted sticker. That was my favorite one. And then, of course, at the end, you have to take down all of your signage and put your polling place back together. When you're setting up the polls, the main thing here is, again, putting out the signage and making sure that no electioneering is going on near you. There are different laws depending on the jurisdiction that you're working in. I just put this up here. So like in Kansas, the rule is there can't be any campaign materials within 250 feet of the entrance. Missouri is not as stringent. It's 25 feet of the building's outer door closest to the polling place. So things to know. And then, of course, for COVID specifically at this time, we were having to disinfect everything and install plexiglass on the check-in table for safety for the volunteers. This is just a really quick, like what you would go through on the poll pad. Again, if you volunteer and you go to the training, they teach you all of this in detail and you get paid. Again, this was really helpful to me because I was able to actually debunk a lot of people that were spewing like conspiracy theories about voter fraud specifically, a lot of the rhetoric that was going on. So that was really helpful for me. I was really grateful that I already knew all this stuff after working there. On the electronic voting, one thing I just wanted to touch on here was it was really important that we you show a blank ballot to the voter, and you also specify that they are in the correct place so that their ballot reflects exactly what they are eligible to be voting on, contingent on where they live. Provisional voting, this is actually a little scary. This is like the one part I didn't like was working at the provisional table. If you are a person that has shown up to a polling place and you either don't have valid photo ID, you are not at the correct polling place, or maybe you're not actually registered to vote at your current address, in Johnson County, you can still vote provisionally that day right then, and they will take care of you. And then depending on the reason why you're provisional voting, you may have some follow-up that you need to do with the election office, but they provide you with a roadmap for figuring out exactly how to make sure that your vote is valid and gets counted, and that you're able to remedy whatever reason you had to vote provisionally for. Again, my favorite, the tabulator and the I voted sticker at the very end. Everybody's always so happy whenever you get to that point because they're like, I did the thing, did my civic duty. And okay, then the teardown. And this was one thing that I thought was really interesting. So with the tabulator, what happens at the end of the night, the person who's in charge of all the volunteers, the supervising judge, he goes over to the tabulator and it prints out this really long receipt that has all of the results from all of the votes that have been tabulated. So that's gonna be everything except for the provisional votes. And then all the volunteers at the end of the night have to sign the thing being like, hey, this is valid. So like we all had to basically put our names on our work at the end of the night. So that was pretty dope. Okay, and then finally, it's hot to be registered to vote at your current address. Yes, and a couple of reminders. Of course, it's the primary election day is going to be August 6th, and the general November 5th, and then we have a little bit of a lag between the last day to make sure that your voter registration is up to date in Kansas and Missouri. So make sure you have updated your voter ID before it's time, please, and thank you. And finally, you can check your voter registration status here if you want to scan this little QR code, make sure you're good to go. And as a reminder, gorgeous, gorgeous girls participate in the democratic process.
Very good. Very good. I can give that to Jason. Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to volunteer if they need me. So, all right. That brings us to our coffee break. We got 20 minutes to have some coffee and donuts and anything else back there. We'll see you in about 20. We'll get some more music after the break. So. All right, everyone must be watching. It got quiet all of a sudden. You're watching the countdown here, so that's good. That's good. I'm always curious. I'm off script here, but I'm so excited to be in this location, and I'm always curious. How many people live in this neighborhood? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, cool, cool. All right, we are so glad to have you, and hopefully you live close enough to walk. So, all right. So this brings us back. We're going to enjoy some more music from David Hakan. David.
You know, one of the things I love about John Lennon's music is he often will paint a picture of what the world that our hearts know should be looks like. And so I thought, well, someone should write a song about what the world's going to look like when we finally reverse global warming and get out of the climate crisis. Because it's probably going to look a little different. So that's this song. And folk warning, it's a wonderful sing-along, so jump in if you want. It's called All Around the World. Now we know we're gonna do it, bring that carbon down, more than we put each year up in the air. We're gonna change how we all get around to make the stuff we think we need. Find a way to make green jobs and trade that's fair. Life will regenerate all around the world. Spirits will thrive all around the world. There will be justice all around the world for all species. Across borders, we'll plant way more trees and protect all the rainforest canopy. Food will be abundant and the soil rich with life. Since it's all organic, no labels will we need. Life will regenerate all around the world. Spirits will thrive all around the world. There will be justice all around the world for all species all around the world. All around the world. All around the world. We will be one family all around the world. As cities turn into neighborhoods, urban and solar farms, and all girls get the schooling they deserve. The corporations' charters will change to benefit all, empowered to spread wealth and to serve. Life will regenerate all around the world. Spirits will thrive justice all around the world, for all species all around the world, all around the world, all around the world. We will be one family all around the world.
Thank you for that again, David Hakan. I think I got the pronunciation right that time. So, all right. Just want to let you know, for our featured speaker, I don't think this one's going to be real controversial, so maybe the disclaimer's not as important, but it is designed to generate conversation and engage our powers of reason, not as a forum to start debates. The following presentation has been prepared by our speaker and not by KC Oasis, so please respect the views of our speaker, and if you have any questions, a Q&A session will follow. So we have Morgan Henderson giving glass a second life with Ripple Glass. Morgan coordinates and executes educational opportunities and community outreach engagements like this while promoting the Ripple Glass collection programs across Kansas City, St. Louis, and Atlanta. Morgan has served as president of the Kansas Organization of Recyclers for the past 2 years and has enjoyed fostering new and existing relationships across her home state. Please come forward, and we're just looking forward to this.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let me just start by saying I have never worn this fancy headset before, so I feel very much like I'm about to give a TED Talk. So this is going to be wild. Thank you all so much for having me here. You all are such a great community, and I'm truly just honored to be with you this morning. My name is Morgan Henderson, and I'm the Senior Marketing and Communications Manager for Ripple Glass right now. So I am just going to talk to you a little bit about what we do at Ripple and why glass recycling is so important and easy. And just by a show of hands, how many of you all have ever heard of Ripple Glass? Okay, we have some experts in here. This is good. I will try to make this as entertaining as possible still, even though you might know some of this stuff. Okay, a very brief history about glass recycling in the Kansas City area. So back in the early 2000s, glass was actually removed from your curbside recycling bin, so where you put paper and plastic and all that. They used to allow glass in there, but in the early 2000s, they said, okay, this is going horribly. Let's remove glass, which was actually a good idea, but unfortunately, at the time, there was nowhere else for glass to go, so it was going straight to the landfill. And at the same time, Boulevard Brewing Company, our local brewery here, was really taking off, and they were manufacturing millions of glass bottles every year, and those were unfortunately going straight to the landfill as well. So Boulevard, founder of Boulevard, John McDonald, he got together with other community organizations to try to come up with a solution for the glass recycling issue in Kansas City. So they came together because obviously there was a need for glass recycling, but they had to determine how are we going to reduce this glass waste in Kansas City and beyond, potentially, because glass is heavy and it gets really expensive to ship long distances. So basically they decided, okay, we are going to collect and process, which is a fancy word for recycle, process the glass locally, all right here in Kansas City, and then send that recycled glass to end users who could actually use it and benefit from the recycled glass. So those two end users who were first like, oh my gosh, yes, please give us recycled glass, were Owens Corning, which is a fiberglass insulation manufacturer just over in Kansas City, Kansas, and then also Ardagh Group, which is a bottle manufacturer, and they actually create the bottles that Boulevard Brewing Company uses. So they were like, yeah, we'll get in on this recycled glass thing and kind of start this cycle of glass life. So once we had these two end users and a place for glass to actually go once it was recycled, Ripple Glass was founded in 2009. And the first thing we had to do, obviously, is build our big processing or recycling facility, which is just over in East Kansas City, Missouri, about 10 minutes east of downtown. And so that's where all of the glass ends up going and actually gets recycled right there. And so once that was built, we started setting out these big purple bins around town. If any of you weren't familiar with Ripple Glass, have you seen one of these purple bins maybe around? Sometimes people don't realize that, oh, that's Ripple. Okay, I didn't know why that big purple beauty was there. That is us. So we actually have over 100 of these purple drop-off bins across the KC Metro at this point. And they're completely free to use. They're open 24/7 unless they're at a recycling facility that has closing hours, open and closing hours. But most of them, you can drop off your glass any time of day or night, really. And early on, we realized that it made a lot of sense to partner with local liquor stores and grocery stores, because obviously you purchase a lot of items in glass, hopefully, in a grocery store and at a liquor store. So having a big purple bin in those parking lots made a lot of sense, so folks could go and drop off their glass and then hopefully go purchase more glass and kind of get that cycle going as well. And so most of our bins, like I mentioned, are those purple beauties. But a couple years ago, we partnered with local Kansas City artists to create these just true beauties. And I only show this for no good reason, except I don't think that anyone's ever seen such a beautiful dumpster in their lives. So there's actually 10 of these. The same design went on 2 different bins. So they rotate all around the Kansas City area. So if you haven't seen one of these yet, hopefully you will at some point. But working with the local artist was so great. And it's almost like a piece of art, if you will. So feel free to drop your glass off in those ones as well. So under the Ripple Glass umbrella, we actually have several different programs. We have our drop-off program, which is the big purple bin program where you drop off your glass. But we also have a commercial program which services a lot of bars and restaurants around Kansas City. And I think we're actually partnering at the moment with over 400 bars and restaurants and businesses. And that top right photo there shows our truck and trailer for the commercial program. We go directly to these bars and restaurants and businesses and pick up their little roll carts, like you can see in the bottom right photo, that they have there. So that's our commercial program. And we also have a curbside program that's we're starting small at the moment, but it's in Roland Park, Kansas. I don't know if any of you were familiar with that, but we do glass-only curbside pickup from Roland Park because you can't put it in your normal curbside recycling bin. So we basically partnered with the city of Roland Park, who were really interested in being as sustainable as they could, and also Roland Park is relatively small, so it was kind of a good sample size for us to start with, and provided kind of little home bins, if you will, to each resident. And so once a month, we go and pick up their glass directly from their curbs. So that program's gone really well, and we're hoping to get into more cities moving forward. And it definitely helps us to work directly with the cities, though, rather than going, individual house to individual house. So that's our curbside program. And then our regional program is so big that it gets its own slide. So early on, when Ripple was founded in 2009, we started getting calls and emails from cities and communities outside of Kansas City, basically saying, can you help us too? All of our glass is going to the landfill, help. And so we said yes, but like I mentioned earlier, glass is heavy, so it gets expensive to ship long distances. So excuse me, basically what we do with our regional programs outside of Kansas City is they wait until they have just basically a bunker's worth of glass, which is about 25 tons that can fit in one of those big trucks. They wait until they have that much, and at that point, it ships to our plant in Kansas City, because we're the only plant in the area that really does glass recycling the right way and the way that we do it. So basically, in order to, not just go pick up a purple bin from Omaha and drive it all the way back, we wait until those communities have enough to make it worth it, essentially, shipping-wise. And we're in 9 different states here, outside of, Kansas City, Missouri, obviously, but Omaha has their own purple bins specifically, but a lot of the cities just have a bunker-type system where folks will go and drop off their glass right then and there. So that's kind of our regional program. It looks different with every community and city that we work with. So why drop-offs? Why use our purple bins? This graphic is a little bit busy, but essentially it's saying when you put everything together, paper, plastic, glass, we used to in Kansas City. 40% of that glass will still end up in the landfill, which is a bummer. If you separate out, say, paper from the mix, 10% of the glass still ends up in the landfill, which is obviously better. But when you collect glass by itself, completely alone from other materials like we do at Ripple, 98% of that glass gets recycled. It all ends up going straight to our plant in KCMO and gets recycled right there, dumped out and goes through the process. So I know we were talking a little bit earlier about, plastics and are those actually getting recycled? And the jury's still out on that, especially with certain types of plastics. But glass, at least, you can really rest assured knowing every bottle and jar, piece of glass you put into our purple bins goes straight to the plant and gets recycled. So that's kind of at least a good feeling knowing that, if nothing else, glass can be and is recycled in Kansas City for sure. A couple other reasons why we should recycle glass. Glass is such a cool material. It can be recycled infinitely without ever losing quality. So unlike paper and plastic, the more those get recycled, they'll ultimately break down, but glass is so cool, it can truly be recycled forever and ever without losing quality. So, which also makes it extra sad when it ends up in the landfill, knowing kind of what it could have been and how many times it could have been recycled. Also, just recycling in general, it creates up to 10 times more jobs than landfilling, which I obviously appreciate working for a recycling company. And lastly, small amounts of glass really do make a big impact. You can see in that little graphic, 1 recycled bottle equals 1 new bottle, and 714 recycled bottles equals enough fiberglass insulation to insulate an entire attic, which I know you all have always wondered about that, so you are welcome. That was a very random fun fact. A few other facts too, for every 6 tons, which essentially is 1 purple bin, that holds about 6 tons. So for every purple bin of glass that gets recycled, 1 ton of carbon dioxide is reduced, which is obviously really helpful to our planet, especially this day and age. So it reduces greenhouse gases. It also, you conserve natural resources by using recycled glass, so you don't have to mine into the earth for the raw materials that make glass from scratch, basically. Instead of doing that, we're just using glass that already exists. Also, it produces less air and water pollution because you're not mining for those materials as well. And then lastly, recycling just 1 glass bottle saves enough electricity to light a light bulb for 4 hours. Another thing that I know you all have always been curious about. So what can you recycle? These are probably the questions we get most from folks, and thankfully, not only is glass so important to recycle, because it can be recycled forever, but it is so easy to recycle glass. Basically, if you can see through it, and it's glass, we can likely take it. We can take any color of glass, any shape, size, any food and beverage container. The labels can stay on. You do not have to rinse out the bottles and jars. You can if you want to, but you can literally finish spaghetti sauce in your car. I don't know why you would do that, but you could, and you could chuck it right into the bin. No need to rinse it. It all comes out at our plant. So also any drinking vessels, if you drop or break a wine glass or a water glass at home, if you can carefully kind of get those glass pieces together, we will gladly take that as well. Any cosmetic bottles or lotion jars that are glass, we can take that also. Even if you can't get the tops off of certain things, whether it's a jar or whatever, that's okay. Toss it in too, because we actually separate out metals and any kind of non-glass material that's also recyclable. We separate that out at our plant as well and recycle that. So literally, it could not be easier to recycle glass, I'm telling you. Also, any windows or shower doors, glass tabletops. A lot of times in the summer when folks are renovating, we get a lot of questions about that. So that can be tossed right into our bin as well. If it's ever too big to fit in the 3-foot by 3-foot windows of our bin, you can actually take it straight to our plant and somebody will help you get that out of your car or whatever and just take it right there. So like I said, super easy to recycle glass. More often than not, if you think it's glass, we can recycle it. But some things that we can't recycle that we get still, cardboard boxes and plastic bags. We understand that obviously folks use those to transport their glass items to our purple bins, which is great. but just don't chuck it all in, please. Just, we only want the glass, because folks at our plant end up having to pick out the larger, cardboard boxes and bags and stuff like that. So we don't want any of that. Also, porcelain and ceramic are things that kind of seem like glass, but they're actually made of stone. And the reason we can't take those especially is because they melt at a much higher temperature. Like, it takes a lot more to melt them. And long story short, when we have our recycled glass that essentially looks like sand, I actually had some samples out there that you guys can look at, but it looks like sand in the end. But if there are pieces of ceramic or porcelain in there, and we send that to the folks at Owens Corning to basically melt it and spin it into fiberglass insulation, I just dumbed down their process so much. I always say it's like cotton candy. Anyway, they don't like when there are pieces in there that melt at a much higher temperature. It messes with their system, basically. So, long story short, that's why we can't take those things. Mirrors, we get questions about mirrors a lot, but it's actually not quite glass, and you also can't see through it. You see yourself, which is nice, but not glass, so none of that. Windshields, or windshield glass, I should say, laminated glass like that, we can't take just because there's that plastic kind of film in between two pieces of glass, which is great when you're driving down the road and a pebble won't fully shatter your windshield, but because of that, we're actually not able to kind of separate that out and recycle it the same way. Pyrex is another one it's see-through, it looks like glass, it seems like glass, but it also melts at a much higher temperature, which makes it great for cooking and all of that, but not great to be mixed in with the other kind of regular glass, if that makes sense. That kind of white dishware, also not glass. We get questions about light bulbs and TVs pretty often, and there are places to recycle those, just not in our purple bins. That doesn't mean we don't see it, though. I saw a TV last week. Surprisingly, we get a good number of toilets. So if you're ever thinking of hoisting your porcelain throne into the bin, please don't. I don't even know, I would love to see that. But anyway, I wouldn't. I don't want to see that. So don't do that. Okay. Anyway, so those are the most of the items we see that we don't want to see in our bin. So what happens to the glass? These images are from our plant, except for that bottom right one. That is at the Owens Corning plant. Although I do a lot of presentations for kiddos at schools too, and I've heard that looks like gum, ham, and erasers, which it does, but it's not. It's fiberglass insulation. So I'm going to show you guys just a short video. Are we okay on time still? I think this video is about 6 minutes long. So let's see if this will play here. It kind of shows the process from start to finish of recycled glass and at our plant. It's kind of interesting. So let's see. Okay. Let's come down here.
Before 2009, Kansas City hardly recycled any of their glass waste. The average person uses nearly 80 pounds of glass each year. This glass can be recycled over and over again, but most of it goes to the landfill. When we recycle glass, it means less material goes into our landfills. Making new glass out of recycled glass saves raw materials like sand and keeps us from having to mine for new materials. Since glass melts at a lower temperature than raw materials, using recycled glass to make new glass uses 30% less energy. Finally, using recycled glass cleans up our air. Every ton of recycled glass used means that we reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 600 pounds. To tell the story of how Ripple Glass solved Kansas City's glass recycling problem, we first have to tell you about its founder, Boulevard Brewing Company. A Kansas City brewery, Boulevard Brewing Company was looking to reduce their waste. Boulevard found that there was no local option to recycle their glass waste, even though there were local manufacturers that could use recycled glass to make their products. Boulevard also found that for waste glass to be reused by a manufacturer, there had to be a processor that cleaned the glass of things like paper, metals, and plastics. This processing facility did not exist in Kansas City. And because there was no processor available, not very much glass was being collected for recycling in Kansas City. Boulevard got tired of being part of the problem and joined local businesses and community organizations to start Ripple Glass in 2009. Ripple Glass did two things at the same time. It created a collection network for glass in Kansas City and built a processing facility to clean the glass into what we call furnace-ready cullet. Before we take a tour of this processing facility, let's show you how Ripple collects and transports glass for recycling. In late 2009, big purple bins began to appear in parking lots throughout Kansas City. Thanks to local businesses who volunteer as hosts, residents and businesses began to fill these bins with beer bottles, wine bottles, pickle jars, and all sizes and colors of glass. When a bin gets full, Ripple sends a truck to pick it up and deliver the glass to our processing facility. Because businesses like bars and restaurants use a lot of glass, Ripple started a commercial recycling program for businesses. Purple roll carts are set behind businesses and picked up weekly. And because Kansas City wasn't the only community in the area to suffer from the lack of processing facility, Ripple started accepting recycled glass containers from cities and towns in surrounding states. Remember, collecting used glass was no good without a facility to process it and make it into furnace-ready cullet. So, Ripple Glass built a facility to do just that. Let's take a look. When recycled glass arrives at the facility, it's weighed and dumped into outdoor storage areas. Processing the glass begins when a loader scoops it up and drops it into a hopper, about 1 ton at a time. The glass flows onto a conveyor belt and into the facility, where magnets and the human eye are used to remove non-glass items like bags, boxes, and cans. The glass is then fed into a crusher and broken into small pieces. It then passes through a dryer to remove moisture from the labels, and a delabeling machine that uses paddles to gently remove the labels. Once the labels are removed, the glass is ready for optical sorting. This computer-driven machine uses beams of light to find items that are not glass. Every second, 15 bottles or jars run past this amazing machine. When a non-glass item is spotted, the machine fires a strong pulse of air to reject it. The glass then moves on to another optical sorter programmed to look for colors. This machine looks for brown or amber glass. Once again, when it sees a piece of amber glass, it fires a strong puff of air to separate it from the rest of the glass. This amber glass is used to make new glass bottles, including those used by Boulevard Brewing Company. The remaining glass is then fed into a machine that crushes it down to the size of coarse sand. We call this furnace-ready cullet. Each day, trucks are filled with this cullet and delivered to a nearby manufacturer, where the cullet is used to make fiberglass insulation, helping to create more energy-efficient homes and buildings. Since Ripple Glass appeared on the scene, KC's glass recycling rate has climbed from 3% to 20%. And continues to grow. We've made a lot of progress, but with your help, we can do much more. If you haven't started recycling your glass, visit our website to find a location near you. If you're already recycling, thank you. Please help us spread the word to your friends, family, and coworkers. More recycled glass means a better, cleaner, brighter future for all of us. Even a small act can create a big ripple. Every bottle counts.
Kind of interesting, right? Yes, it was. Thank you. I did not make it, but thank you. Yes, so just a few more things here before I wrap up. A few tips to make glass recycling extra easy. We've found that designating a spot in your home or office or building, wherever, that's strictly for glass kind of helps train your brain that, oh yeah, wait, glass doesn't belong in the trash. It goes over here in this separate section. So we sell our I mentioned those home bins that we've given to the Roland Park folks for our curbside program. We also sell those on our website if you're ever interested in purchasing one, and we deliver it straight to your home. So it's kind of a sturdy way to collect your glass, but also a cardboard box or bag works great as well. Printing out the What Can I Recycle flyer that's on our website is also sort of helpful to tape up near your glass-only section. So in case you're about to put your toilet in there, you'll be like, wait, it's not on the list. Also, just finding your closest drop-off location, knowing where that is helpful. I'll show you the two closest to this location in just a second, but all of our bin locations are listed on our website as well, and you can just type in your zip code and all the nearby bins will pop up. And then telling your friends and family, that is truly so helpful to us. As you saw in the video, the recycling rate has gone from 3% to 20%, which is good, but it's still only at about 20%. So it's always really helpful for us to just, spread our message through word of mouth. And I tell all my friends and family about Ripple now that I've worked for Ripple about 5.5 years, but I swear I, as well as my family and friends now, will just dive into the trash to salvage a glass bottle if we see one. So I don't know if that's something I should share. But anyway, once you know that glass, there's a better place for it, you really start to kind of see that and not want glass to go to the landfill. And so the closest Ripple Glass bin locations to this location here, it's a little bit hard to see, sorry, but we have one actually at KU Medical Center. It's sort of in an interesting spot there. We've got more specific directions on our website that say exactly where it's located, but we do have one there. And then we also have one just to the east of the Sunfresh in Westport. If you all are familiar with the Sunfresh store there, it's just on the east end of it in that parking lot there. So those are the closest to this location we're at right now, but like I said, we've got over 100 purple bins across the area, so hopefully you'll be able to find one that's convenient to you all. And I run our social media stuff on Ripple now, which is very funny. It actually is kind of funny. Anyway, I try to make it as entertaining as possible, so feel free to follow us. We try to give informative, helpful tips, but also be as entertaining as we can. So follow us. You're always welcome to reach out through social media, or you can email me at morgan@rippleglass.com if you ever have any questions or anything at all. But do you all have any questions at the moment? I'm happy to answer anything. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay, this is kind of a weird question, but could they mine landfills for glass that's been discarded?
That's a really good question, actually. I think at that point, with how it's shattered and everything else that's piled around it, it would be probably pretty difficult, but that's been in discussions before, I know.
I can't imagine mining raw materials is less, isn't it smaller?
True.
Particle size?
Yeah, I mean, mining there are definitely different mining spots around the whole world where they go in and do that I'm not as familiar with that side of things. So, but it's really interesting, and I know the landfills are full of tons of valuable things too, but I'm not sure exactly how easy or difficult that would be to get in there. Great question, though.
I had a question, but it was answered by the video. In
super.
terms of, I'll be saving water now because I won't be rinsing
There you
bottles
go.
out, so.
Exactly.
I'm curious about your Roland Park partnership, and for municipal groups, what are the selling points for agreeing for a curbside recycling program?
Yeah, so first of all, we have our curbside kind of manager would be able to answer your questions probably best, and I can get you that contact information. But basically, we partnered with Roland Park, and it went through several processes to get approved, obviously through city council, but it's really nice when you can take glass out of your trash or your recycling. It doesn't actually get recycled, but your trash, because you're saving costs because glass is heavy. So it actually, for the city, benefits them because their trash fees aren't quite as much because the dumping basically at the landfill, it goes by weight. So it's kind of a nice selling point to say you're going to save a lot of money because there's a lot of weight with glass. So, and it's really, gosh, I think the Roland Park residents, I don't know if anybody is from Roland Park in here, but I think their annual costs with this program are super minimal, like a few dollars a year. So it's not too terribly much. Didn't mean we didn't get a little bit of pushback, but for the most part, the residents of Roland Park were really excited about this. And they also have a purple bin at the Aldi in Roland Park that they can still use anytime, but obviously curbside is super convenient. So, but yeah, I can get you any more information too if you're interested. It's always helpful when residents in certain cities also kind of advocate for the program. That helps us so much too, to let them know, oh, our residents actually want this as well. So yes.
I'm curious. I mean, when I was a child, it was like like the Coca-Cola bottles and the Coca-Cola plants would actually recycle the glass bottle, take it back to the plants to, sterilize them, refill it. Are there any companies that are still doing that? Like I would think Boulevard Beard would be doing something like that.
And they definitely, Chateau milk bottles do that right now, and they are awesome. We fully support them and their mission, absolutely. And when Ripple was founded back in 2009, and even when they were looking into it beforehand, they definitely evaluated, like, okay, is it more cost effective to just take the Boulevard bottles back and use that kind of rinsing method and sterilization method? And I think, I'm not sure of the details, it was obviously before my time, but whatever kind of, it didn't quite work out financially to go that route. And also I think the water usage and cleaning and all of that was something they didn't want to dive into necessarily. I know there's obviously we crush and clean the glass at our facility, but we don't really use water with it as much. So I think there were a lot of factors that went into like, why do this versus that option? So it's a great question, but after, looking at the different options, this made most sense, I think. But Chateau's great, and they do take the bottles back and give you a little bit of money back for them. So that's awesome. Yeah.
So Coca-Cola is not doing anything like that.
Did you say Coca-Cola?
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
They've definitely.
I mean, so much of the stuff is plastic.
Yeah.
Aluminum. So
Exactly. I think Coca-Cola and some of the big companies are getting more focused on their sustainability efforts, but at the moment, there's not a program like that with them, I don't believe, but aluminum and plastic and a lot of things are kind of going that way, which is, we don't love. We think everything tastes better in glass anyway, but yes.
So I have a bottle that has a ceramic top held by the heavy metal, and the video said that they can take the metal, but on your list is no ceramic. What do we do with those?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, when it's something, unless you had a truck full of that type of thing, it's okay. That's not going to ruin, if you even dropped one ceramic pot into the mix, it's okay. We get so much glass that it will either be separated out or it will be such a just fractional amount that it won't affect things too much. So we always say if you can't get that off or you can't separate out the non-glass stuff, still toss it in and we'll deal with it. So great question. If you had a massive amount though, that might be a little bit of a problem.
Does Ripple Glass have a participation in a carbon exchange system of any kind?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that. I could get you more, I'll get more information on that for you, but I'm not positive. That's a great question, though. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
That was
thank you all
very,
so much.
very
Thank
informative.
you. Absolutely.
And I would venture to your question about Coca-Cola. When I go to the grocery store, it looks like 90% of what's Coke are in plastic bottles. So I don't even know if it applies anymore to Coca-Cola. So anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. While David Hakan comes up to join us for one last song, we want to remind everyone that Kansas City Oasis is a 501c3 nonprofit run solely on donations and volunteers. If you like the speaker and the music today, please consider donating through kcoasis.org/donate or by Venmo. Recurring monthly donations are most helpful, so we have a predictable stream of, cash flow and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, David, give us one more.
Such a pleasure to play for you all today. Thanks for having me. And I will be afterwards back at the little round table with CDs. They used to make CDs, they look like coasters for your drink. You can get music out of them, but not in your car usually, and not in your computer anymore, but they're nice collector items. Well, I was thinking about unconditional love. I wrote this song. It's called You Are Welcome Here. Mothers fleeing from sad Ukraine, artists from the south of Spain, dingy subway vagabonds, South Sea Islanders who fish the ponds. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are part of the web of life so dear. You are welcome here. Grandma's raising a family or two, nurses caring for me and you, assembly workers with their power tools, young people striking at their schools. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are part of the web of life so dear. You are welcome here. Beavers building their river pools, oak trees keeping the forest cool, wolves out hunting to feed their cubs, soil microbes, nematodes, and grubs. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are part of the web of life so dear. You are welcome here. Farmers out in their sea of wheat, church choirs with their voices sweet, warehouse workers in nomad land, Navajo in the desert sand. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are part of the web of life so dear. You are welcome here. Connections grow like roots in the dark to all life on earth, and we are just one part. Dandelions blooming twice a year, eagles soaring in the air so clear, those who've fallen to despair, those who lift them out of their chairs. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are part of the web of life so dear. You are welcome here.
Thank you again. That was very good, very good. All right, so again, we've discussed either staying behind here to help with the setup for the rummage sale, or if you're not able to do that, or please, you could join us for lunch after Oasis at the Combine, 2999 Troost Avenue, and you can continue to talk about recycling there if you want to, or being an election worker, so we'd love to have you. And again, we are a fully volunteer organization, and we would really appreciate your help in a little bit of the tidying up, straightening up, sweeping, and a variety of little tasks that we need to keep this place looking nice and welcoming. So please help us at the end of the into the show. Next week, we have a special treat. Both the feature speaker and musician is Calvin Arsenia. He's voted the best musician in KC for multiple years. You don't want to miss his talk or his music. We've had him before, and he's very good, very good. And we want to thank again this week's presenter, Morgan and Sydney, and our musician David. And thank you for being here or turning in online. Now, hold off for a second. I have gone off script or added to the script a time or two where I've given an inspirational close in the past. And I just want to invite you to take a look at a speech given by Abraham Lincoln. He gave it to the Lyceum. It's his Lyceum address that he gave on January 27, 1838. It was titled "The Perpetuation of Our Political Institutions." In his speech, a 20-year-old Lincoln warned that mobs or people who disrespected U.S. laws and courts could destroy the United States. He went on to say, "The Constitution and the rule of law in the United States are the political religion of our nation." Look that up, and don't be surprised if it seems a little prophetic for what's going on right now. So, again, thank you. I hope I didn't deviate too much from the order here, but see you next week.